Welcome to Biology My Passion. I am Soumya Harikrishna. We have been dealing with the chapter Life Processes. We already dealt with nutrition and respiration. Now we are going to study about transportation. So we know for nutrients digested in the small intestine are carried by blood, which is the fluid connective tissue, to different parts of the body. Then the oxygen and carbon dioxide are also transported through our blood. So for transport of all these substances, blood is required. Then again the nitrogenous waste material should be moved to the kidneys. So without transportation system, living organisms cannot function. So in this module, we are going to learn about transportation in animals and plants. So first we will deal with the circulatory system in human beings in detail. After that, we will learn how some other animals are different from humans. And finally, we will learn about the transportation in plants. So let us start with transportation in human beings. So transportation means what? Every single function or life processes is carried out by a system, like nutrition by digestive system, respiration by respiratory system. The same way, transportation in our body is carried out by circulatory system. Organs are collectively performing a function, then we call it as a system. So here we cannot see definite organs like that, but still we can say circulatory system has got three parts. First, the blood, as I mentioned, the fluid connective tissue connecting different parts of the body. Second, heart. What is the function of heart? Heart is to pump the blood to every single part of the body. Third part, blood vessels. We have blood vessels to carry blood throughout the body. So based on that, actually there are two types of circulatory systems: open circulatory system and closed circulatory system. In lower organisms, like in arthropods or other invertebrates, they don't have a system of blood vessels to carry the body fluid. For them it is not the red blood like ours, but still there is no blood vessel. That is called a open, where the body cavity is filled with the body fluid. Whereas in case of higher organisms, we have definite tubes through which blood is flowing. That is called a blood vessel. So now we are going to discuss different components in detail. Then human circulatory system will be over. Now here which question you can expect? What are the parts of human circulatory system? Blood, heart and blood vessels. Hope you are ready with your paper and pen. Always sit with a pen, book or a paper to write down the points. So let us move on to each one in detail. Let us see the first component of circulatory system, blood, in detail. So what is the composition of blood? Blood has mainly two parts. One, the fluid part of the blood called plasma. The second part, a set of cells, or we call it as blood cells or blood corpuscles. Now if you look at plasma, pale yellow colored fluid, so we call it as straw colored. And 55% of blood is plasma. So next to 45% blood cells. Now in that plasma, 90 to 92% is water. Then rest 6 to 8% proteins. Apart from this, there are certain minerals, then glucose, amino acids, lipids, etc. also in small amounts. Now the plasma transports food. Food means what? In the digested form, that is the nutrients from the food. Then carbon dioxide. When we learned respiration, we learned oxygen is transported by hemoglobin in the RBC, whereas carbon dioxide is transported in the form of dissolved substance in plasma. Then nitrogenous waste in the dissolved form to be removed out of the body. It was carried to the kidney. Now blood cells are of three types. First, RBC, or we call it as red blood cells. They are otherwise called erythrocytes. What is their function? As I mentioned, carries oxygen. WBC, white blood cells, otherwise called a leukocyte. Leuco means colorless, cyte means cell, leukocytes. They are mainly involved in providing immunity to our body or fighting of infections. The third category of cells are platelets. They are actually not complete or entire cells, they are fragments of cells. So these platelets are otherwise called thrombocytes. They are involved in clotting of blood. So whenever we have a bleeding wound, our blood clots. It is because of platelets. Now, the question you can get the composition of blood, that is clear from this. Now, apart from that, what are the substances transported by plasma? So the answer is here: food, carbon dioxide, nitrogenous waste, all in dissolved form. Whereas, if the question is, what are the substances transported by blood as a whole? So this we will write plus oxygen, along with that salt is also there. Okay, so if you write food, carbon dioxide, nitrogenous waste, oxygen and salt are the substances carried by blood. Now let us see the structure of heart. Do you know what is the size of our heart? It is the size of your closed fist. Now, what is the function of heart? Heart has only a single function, pumping the blood. Because only if it is pumped, it can reach every part of the body. Because blood has to reach from our head to toe. For that pumping is required. But we know the purification of blood is happening in another organ called the lungs. And blood carries both oxygen and carbon dioxide. They both come to the heart, but should not mix. So our heart has a well separated chambers so that oxygen rich blood and carbon dioxide rich blood never mix together. So if you see the course of circulation of our gases, oxygen is taken from the atmosphere and we take it into the alveoli present in the lungs. From the alveoli, it goes to the blood vessels present on the surface of alveoli, so that the oxygen is there in the blood now. So that blood is oxygen rich blood. So the oxygen rich blood, otherwise called the oxygenated blood, now goes to the heart. Because it cannot go directly to the body parts, it will first go to the heart. From the heart, it is pumped to the body parts. Once it reaches the body parts, again the next exchange will happen. That is, oxygen will go to the tissues and from the tissues carbon dioxide will come to the blood. Now the blood is deoxygenated blood. Deoxygenated means, D means what? Remove. Oxygen is removed. Now it is rich in carbon dioxide. So that deoxygenated blood is brought again to the heart. From the heart, it goes back to the lungs. From the blood vessels in the alveoli, it will go inside the alveoli and it is exhaled out. So always blood from the lungs should go to the heart before pumping, and before exhaling the carbon dioxide rich blood should also come to heart, then only it goes to the lungs. For that, the heart has got separated chambers. Now let us see the structure of heart in detail. Now if you look at the heart, this is only a representative diagram. Later I will teach you how to draw a heart diagram properly. Okay, so imagine our heart is like a two-storied building. This is the ground floor, this is the first floor. How many rooms are there in each floor? 2 rooms are there, right? But usually in a building there will be provision to go up or come down. But here it is a very weird kind of building where from here they can come down but nobody can go up. Okay, go up means they can go out but not again to this floor. So if you consider this, you can see this wall is separating completely the 2 halves. And this side, so when we are drawing, we know this is our right side and this is our left side. But always when we are drawing heart or kidney or any organ, we have to imagine that we are drawing our heart or our kidney. So in that case, imagine if I am keeping my heart here, which is my left side, this is my left side. So this side has to be marked left. This is a thumb rule. Don't think, okay, X can draw this as left, Y can draw this as left. No. all of you should draw this as left and this as right. Okay, so when you draw kidney, label kidney diagram, that later we will study, there also you have to draw left that side and right this side. Okay, so this is the right side of the heart. The right side of the heart always receives or pumps only deoxygenated blood. That's why I used blue color. Whereas left side of the heart always receives or pumps oxygenated blood. So red color is given. Now, the two chambers on the upper floor, first floor, are called the auricle. Auricles, otherwise called atrium. Atrium singular, atria plural. Whereas the lower chambers are called ventricles. Okay. So, upper two chambers are called atria. Lower two chambers are called ventricles. And each side, in the left side as well as right side, auricles are connected to ventricle by certain valves. The valves open whenever blood has to flow down. So after flowing down, the valves close, because the function of the valve is to prevent the backflow of blood. The right and left side of the heart is completely separated by a cross wall. We call it as septum. So it's a complete wall without any gap. So this ensures that there is no mixing of deoxygenated blood in the right side with the oxygenated blood in the left side. So never the oxygenated and deoxygenated blood are mixing here. Okay, so heart is the size of a closed fist. It has got 4 chambers. Upper 2 chambers are called auricles. Lower 2 chambers are called ventricles. Auricles and ventricles of each side are connected by valves. Valves prevent the backflow of blood. Then the right and left side of the heart are completely separated by a cross wall or septum, so that mixing of oxygenated and deoxygenated blood does not take place. Let us now draw the structure of heart. So whenever you are drawing a diagram, please draw it to the left of the page, so that right side you will get space for labeling. And especially with the heart diagram, leave some space on top also, because some blood vessels will be coming to the top. Okay, so maybe 2-3 lines on top you can leave and then start drawing with me. You can pause the video and draw along with me. Okay, so I'll be showing you step by step. So in your page you may take maybe 5 to 6 lines for drawing this diagram. So moderately sized diagram we have to draw. So let us first draw the outline. Heart is little tilted. So what you can draw is, first you draw like this to this side, little tilted. So 2 chambers are ready, 2 sides are ready. Now in the middle we have to show the valves. Okay, so this shows the valves. Now we have to show the wall, second wall, because heart is covered by a wall layer called a pericardium. Okay, outer and inner layers are there, the membrane. In between, pericardial fluid is there. Always remember, cardio is the word related to heart. So peri means outside, pericardium, outside the heart or covering the heart. When we draw that membrane, its thickness is different. Auricles have thinner layers compared to ventricles. So among ventricles again, the left side has the thickest wall. Okay, so auricles you will draw the thin walls, whereas for ventricles thick walls. Left ventricle the thickest wall. So we can start here the thinnest. Okay, so this is little more thicker. This is the thickest, this part is the thickest, and this should be between these two. Okay, so this is how you are going to draw the wall. So this one, if you are coloring your diagram, for examination you need not color the diagram, but while drawing in the notebook it's better to color so that later you will feel like learning it or looking at that. So when you are coloring it, you can give light pink or magenta or light red color shade, because red again we will be using for blood vessels. Okay, so outline is ready. Now we have to see the blood vessels coming in and leaving the heart. This outline you draw with a pencil because we are going to rub here and there. So here we have to rub this side also. Okay. Now left side I am using blue color because deoxygenated blood is coming there. Okay. This is a vein called a vena cava. Another one is coming from down and opening into it. Actually from behind it is opening, but we can just show like this. So the deoxygenated blood is filling in this chamber. This is the right auricle. Okay. In the left auricle, a blood vessel from the lungs is opening, which brings oxygenated blood. This is the left auricle. Okay. Now there is a blood vessel from here going out, from here they are overlapping and going, but we need not show that complexity. We will draw very simplified diagram here. So you can draw like this. It is opening from this chamber, that is from the right ventricle. Okay. The same way from left ventricle, the aorta is going out. You can show like this, or simply you can open this way also. Okay. Now if you want, you can shade this too. Okay. Now here also a pair of valves are there to, once the blood enters, it will prevent the backflow. So this is the structure of heart. We will explain the function later. So 4 chambers you have to draw. Auricles, thinner walls compared to ventricles. The left ventricle has the thickest wall. The septum in the center. These are 2 valves. This is these are the blood vessels. Now we will label the diagram. This one is the pulmonary artery. Pulmonary word is related to lungs, so the artery going to the lungs. This is aorta. This is pulmonary vein. Means coming from the lungs. This one, okay, aorta. So this is vena cava. So actually 2 vena cava are there, inferior and superior. Okay. Then we can call this as septum. Okay. This valve is called a tricuspid valve. This valve is called a bicuspid valve. Okay. Then these valves are called a semilunar valves. Okay, both are called as semilunar valves. You need not learn or remember the name of this specifically, but you should know generally about valves are present to prevent backflow of blood. Okay. So hope this is an easy diagram for you. Now we will see the functioning of the heart, or how is blood circulating inside the heart. Now let us see the working of the heart. We know the blood passes through the heart and it is going to different parts of the body. From different parts of the body it comes back to heart. So the whole circulation of blood through the heart is called a cardiac cycle. So when we are explaining the functioning of or working of heart, we are actually explaining the cardiac cycle. Okay, so now let us see. how is the cardiac cycle occurring? First, all the four chambers of the heart are relaxed. Okay, means it is in a dilated stage or expanded stage. So during that time, the vena cava will bring blood from different parts of the body. Both the vena cava will be bringing blood from different parts of the body. That is deoxygenated blood. From tissues means it's deoxygenated. Deoxygenated means what? Carbon dioxide rich blood will be brought to the right auricle. So it will be poured into the right auricle. Simultaneously, from the lungs, the oxygenated blood is brought by pulmonary vein and that will also be drained into the left auricle. This is simultaneously happening. Okay. Now what happens? During that time, the valves are open. So, from the right auricle, the deoxygenated blood flows down to the right ventricle. From the left auricle, oxygenated blood goes down to the left ventricle. But only little bit will be going down. So now what happens? Both the upper chambers, they are called the atria, they contract. So once they contract, the more blood will be pushed down. So from here, it will come to right ventricle. The oxygenated blood now is in left ventricle. Now, if the valves are open, what happens? The blood may go up. So to prevent that, immediately the valves will close. So that is the first heart sound that you are hearing. Okay. Now, so it is closed, then this will relax. Immediately the ventricles will now contract. Okay. So first auricles all were relaxed. Okay. First all four chambers were relaxed. Now auricles are squeezing the blood down. Once it reaches, now the ventricles are squeezing but auricles are coming back to normal position. Now this is contracted. Now this is contracted, blood is pressurized to go out. So can it go back? No, the valves are closed. But these valves are open. So now what happens? The deoxygenated blood will go through the pulmonary artery. Where will the pulmonary artery take the blood? It will take it to the lungs. And at the same time, from the left ventricle, the oxygenated blood will be now going through the aorta, and aorta will branch and rebranch to form different arteries and distribute blood to all over our body. Okay? So this is the overall process of cardiac cycle. So these are happening simultaneously. Do you know what is the duration for this to happen? It takes 0.8 seconds only. Not even a single second is needed, 0.8 seconds only. That means in a minute, how many times our heart is beating? 70 to 72 times. So here also, once the blood goes inside these two blood vessels, these valves also will close. That will make the next heart sound. Actually, our heart beats like lup-dub, lup-dub, lup-dub. Okay, so lub is the closure of these valves and dub is the closure of these two valves. Okay, now these valves are closed means what? The blood cannot come down. Now the ventricles will relax. So all are in a completely dilated state for a 0.1 second. Again, auricles will contract. The process will start. Contract, relax, like this. Okay, so when you are explaining, we will explain from one side, then we go to the other side. First I told you how it is simultaneously happening. Now I am going to tell you how you have to present it for the examination if cardiac cycle is asked or functioning of heart is asked. So first, the deoxygenated blood from different parts of the body is brought to the right auricle by vena cava. During auricular contraction or atrial contraction, the blood flows down to the right ventricle. The valves close and now the ventricles contract, pushing the blood into the pulmonary artery. The pulmonary artery takes the blood to the lungs where it gets oxygenated. Oxygenated blood from the lungs comes back to the left auricle through pulmonary vein. Now during auricular contraction, the oxygenated blood goes to the ventricle and due to the contraction of ventricle, it goes out through the aorta to different parts of the body. Again, from all parts of the body, vena cava bring the deoxygenated blood to the right auricle. Due to auricular contraction, deoxygenated blood goes to the right ventricle. From the right ventricle, it is going out through the pulmonary artery during ventricular contraction to the lungs for oxygenation. Oxygenated blood from the lungs comes back to the right auricle through pulmonary vein. It goes to the left ventricle. During ventricular contraction, it goes out through aorta to different parts of the body. This is called a cardiac cycle. Now let us quickly see some important concepts. That side of the heart receives and pumps oxygenated blood. Oxygenated blood means what? Our left side. That side of the heart receives and pumps deoxygenated blood. Which side? The right side. Dash prevent backflow of blood. Yes, valves. Dash prevents the mixing of oxygenated and deoxygenated blood. Yes, septum. Dash chamber of the heart has the thickest wall. Left ventricle. Very good. Another important question is, ventricles have thicker walls than atria. Why? Ventricles have to pump blood to various organs, so they have thicker walls. We know atria are just receiving the blood, so there is no pressure inside them. Whereas ventricles have to pump, so it is under pressure, so they should have thicker walls to withstand the pressure. Now among ventricles, why does left ventricle possess the thickest wall? Why? The left ventricles have to pump the blood to every part of the body. So it is under pressure. So to withstand the high pressure, it has the thickest wall. Now another important part, these four blood vessels that you are learning with their function. Vena cava, deoxygenated blood from body to heart. Pulmonary artery, deoxygenated blood from the heart to lungs. Pulmonary vein, oxygenated blood from lungs to heart. Aorta, heart to various organs. We learned our heart is completely separated to prevent the mixing of oxygenated and deoxygenated blood. But is it true for all organisms? No. So actually animals are classified into two types, cold-blooded animals and warm-blooded animals. Cold-blooded animals, what do you mean by that? Is their blood very cold all the time? No. Cold-blooded means their body temperature is not constant. It keeps on changing with the external environment. So they are otherwise called poikilotherms. You need not remember. I am just giving you extra information for those who can receive. Okay. So cold-blooded animals don't have a fixed body temperature or a constant body temperature, but their temperature keeps on varying with the outside environment. So do they need to spend energy for maintaining temperature? No, because body temperature maintenance is a high energy process. We need to spend a lot of energy. So these animals need not worry about that. They don't have to spend much energy. So their energy need is very less. So for them, the heart is three-chambered. You can see two auricles but one ventricle. It's not completely separated. So the deoxygenated blood will come here. Oxygenated blood will come here. From there it will be going to different parts. But still the partial mixing can take place, not complete mixing, because to one side only it will be coming, but partial mixing can take place. But still they can afford to that, or they can tolerate that. Why? Because their energy need is less, even if it is mixing, so they are going to get energy needed for their activities. So which are those organisms? Amphibians and reptiles. Amphibians means frogs, salamanders, etc., which are living in both land and water. Reptiles are also, lizards, snakes and all. But there is an exception, crocodiles having four-chambered heart. Now, higher organisms like birds and mammals, we all are called warm-blooded. That means it's not that our blood is warm, but our body temperature is constant. So we are otherwise called homeotherms. Suppose imagine I am taking you to Siberia. You know the temperature is negative. But what will be your body temperature? We know human beings have an average body temperature, we say 37, right? Though it's not always 37, but average 37 we say. So even if I take you to Siberia, your body temperature will be 37. Or I am taking you to Sahara Desert during summer season, where temperature may be above 50. There again your body temperature will be 37. Means your body is constantly spending a lot of energy to maintain the body temperature constant. So wherever we go, our temperature remains constant. So our energy need is very high. How do we get energy? By breaking down of glucose by oxygen. So efficient supply of oxygen is a must for us. Only then we will get maximum energy out of glucose, right? So body temperature is constant for these animals. So high energy needs. To ensure efficient supply of oxygen, these animals have 4-chambered heart. This is an important question for you. Amphibians and reptiles can tolerate mixing of blood, oxygenated and deoxygenated blood. Give reason. Or amphibians and reptiles have 3-chambered heart. Why? Warm-blooded animals cannot tolerate the mixing of oxygenated and deoxygenated blood. Why? Or birds and mammals have completely separated heart chambers. Why? So you have to write these 2 points as the answer. Let us now learn about a new concept, double circulation. So we know if this is our heart, okay, from this side the blood is going to the lungs. Who is taking the blood? Pulmonary artery. And after reaching the lungs, it branches to form the capillaries. Okay, now after that carbon dioxide is given to the alveoli, oxygen is taken in, now blood is oxygenated. So the capillaries will join back, now they have oxygenated blood and it is brought to the left auricle by pulmonary vein. Now again from the left ventricle, the aorta is taking the oxygenated blood to different parts. So, you know, aorta branches to form different organs. Maybe one to stomach, another to kidney. So, after reaching there, they all distribute the blood to the tissues. Then they join back as veins. And now come as vena cava and open into this chamber. Right? So these are the different body parts. This is aorta and this is vena cava. Okay. So now we can see blood is going from the heart to the lungs for oxygenation and it comes back to heart. So that can be considered as a circulation, that is called a pulmonary circulation. Now after that, the oxygenated blood is going to the different parts of the body. From there it is coming back to heart again through vena cava. So that is called a systemic circulation. So between heart and lungs, we cannot say only one direction. Between heart and lungs there is pulmonary circulation. Between heart and our organs we have body parts, we have systemic circulation. So this circulation and this circulation together form one cardiac cycle. So since blood is passing through the heart twice during a single cardiac cycle, this circulation is called a double circulation. So what is double circulation? The movement of blood through the heart twice during a single circulation is called a double circulation. It happens in mammals and birds. In the case of fish, they have single circulation, because in fish the heart has only 2 chambers, auricle and ventricle, one auricle and one ventricle. They are aspiring the oxygen dissolved in water. So you know, they are taking in the water through the mouth, and when it is passing through the gills are red in color. Okay. When it is passing through the gills, the oxygen will be taken to the blood and carbon dioxide will be given to water and it will come out here. Okay, so here what happens is from all parts of the body, so from here the gills, blood goes to, suppose this is the body of the fish, from the gills the oxygenated blood will go to every part. Okay, so from there this will be brought back to the auricle. From the auricle the deoxygenated blood will come to ventricle. From the ventricle it will be pumped to the gills for respiration. So in case of fish, the blood is passing only once through the heart during a cardiac cycle, because from the gills it's not coming to heart. From the gills it is going directly to the body parts. From the body parts it comes to the heart and then goes to the gills. So only once it is passing through the heart during a cardiac cycle. So it is called a single circulation. Example, fish having two-chambered heart. So now one more point, if you can remember, it is called a venomous heart, because the heart is only receiving and pumping deoxygenated blood. No pure blood is coming to the heart. So if a question comes, differentiate between single circulation and double circulation. Single circulation, blood passes through the heart only once during a cardiac cycle. Example, fish. Blood passes through the heart twice during a cardiac cycle in double circulation. Example, mammals. Let us now talk about the third part of our circulatory system, blood vessels. Blood vessels are the fine tubules through which the blood is passing. Blood vessels are classified into three types: arteries, veins and capillaries. Don't think they are three different sets. They are actually continuation of one to the other. Okay, so but their structure may vary, their functions are different. So we are naming them different, but it is continuous system. Okay, so arteries are actually the ones carrying oxygenated blood. That is, from the heart they carry blood to different organs. So you know, from the left ventricle, oxygenated blood is taken out by aorta. Then aorta branches and rebranches to form many branches or arteries. Each artery enters into an organ to supply oxygen. Okay, so suppose this is an organ. Now artery is bringing oxygenated blood. So this is artery. So after entering the organ, the artery branches to form many fine tubules, thin-walled tubules. They are called capillaries. Now what happens? Suppose if you want, you can draw one more. So they distribute oxygen to the tissues and carbon dioxide is now coming to the blood. So the blood becomes deoxygenated. Then the same capillaries they join back. And it becomes a vein. Okay, so that's why I told it is continuous system. Or imagine if this hand is artery, it is bringing oxygenated blood and dividing into capillaries. Now again this is closing, right? These are the capillaries, my fingers joining and going out as vein. So oxygenated blood is coming, distributing oxygen to the organ, taking carbon dioxide, deoxygenated blood is going out. So, but now we will discuss the differences between these blood vessels. This is an important differentiating question for you. In respiration, differences between aerobic and anaerobic respiration is very important. In transportation, differentiate between arteries and veins, very important. It is usually coming for 2 marks, so you can write 4 points. Okay. So if you see the differences between arteries and veins, the first thing, carry blood from heart to organs, whereas veins carry blood from organs to heart. Second, arteries carry oxygenated blood, but there is an exception. We know pulmonary artery. Pulmonary artery carries deoxygenated blood from the right ventricle to the lungs for oxygenation. The same way, veins carry deoxygenated blood, but except pulmonary vein, because pulmonary vein brings oxygenated blood from the lungs to the left auricle. So naturally there can be a doubt. Then why can't we call this as pulmonary vein and this as pulmonary artery? But the naming is done based on the direction of flow from heart to organs. Because pulmonary artery is going from heart, to lungs, which is an organ. So it should be called an artery only. So we are considering this as an exception. Then thick and elastic walls, because in the arteries blood is coming with a high pressure. So withstand that, they have thicker walls but elastic walls. Whereas veins, pressure is less, they have thin walls. And since there is pressure, backflow is very less in arteries, so valves are also absent. Whereas veins are flowing up, so backflow can be there and no pressure. So to prevent backflow, they have valves. Then these are the four main points. Again, if you don't get any of this, you forget, you can go for this. Arteries are deep seated, whereas veins are superficial. You can see the veins, because we know veins are not under pressure. So if arteries are on the surface, means what? If there is a bleeding wound, then the blood will gush out. Whereas veins, we don't lose much blood because of the less pressure in that. So this is an important question. Please learn it well. So the third type of blood vessel is capillary. So capillaries have this, they are the smallest vessels with a very thin walls. Very thin means what? Only one cell thick wall they have. Why? Because all the materials are exchanged between the blood and the tissues through the wall of capillaries. So it is mainly by diffusion. So whenever diffusion is happening, the membrane should be as thin as possible. So only one cell layer thick means what? Exchange is easy. Okay. And we are also studying about platelets. Platelets are the clotting factors in our body, or the blood cells which are responsible for clotting. So we know if there is an open wound, suppose this is your hand, there is an open wound, blood starts coming out of this, right? That's called a bleeding. But within no time it stops, and you will see a brownish color scum forming over it, or a thick layer forming there, or dried blood, we call it as blood clot. So how is this happening? When there is a bleeding wound, immediately some reactions will happen in our body that you will learn in higher class. There are certain fibers. Okay, these fibers will come and form a mesh over here with the help of platelets. So this mesh will stop all the components of blood. It's like a wall which is preventing the blood from oozing out, so that a clot is formed there. So we learned blood is a tissue which is flowing throughout our body, or it is circulating throughout our body. The same way, we have one more fluid circulating in our body, which is not red like blood, but it is colorless. The name of that fluid is lymph, or it is otherwise called a tissue fluid, or it is also called an interstitial fluid. How is it formed? We will see. When the blood is passing through the capillaries, we know from the artery, it is coming and branching into capillaries, and capillaries have very thin walls. So many contents, water soluble contents of the blood, along with some proteins. Plasma, water soluble means plasma is mainly water. Then proteins. Protein means not the huge proteins, small proteins, and some blood cells like WBC, not the RBC. RBC is big, it cannot come out through the wall. So all these components will drain out into, suppose this is an organ, we know organ is made up of tissue, tissue in turn made up of cells. So in between the cells there is space. So suppose these are the cells, in between the cells there is space. Those spaces are called an intercellular space. So these substances just drain down into the intercellular space from the capillaries. Okay, that is forming the lymph or the tissue fluid. So here there is a question, why is lymph called a tissue fluid? The reason is the lymph is drained from the blood or the capillaries into the space in the tissues or intercellular space, so it is called a tissue fluid. Now it cannot be filled here. So from here intercellular space it is taken to small capillaries called the lymphatic capillaries. Many lymphatic capillaries join to form a vessel, that is called a lymph vessel. Similar to blood vessel, lymph vessel. Now the lymph vessels will finally go and drain back to vein, which carries blood. So ultimately the fluid draining out from the blood is going back to blood. So this is the course of circulation of lymph. So this can be asked in the form of flowchart itself. So blood capillary to intercellular space to lymph capillaries to lymph vessel to finally vein. Now, if it is going back to blood, then why is it formed? So, its functions are important. The first one, it carries digested and absorbed fat from intestine. Other nutrients are also there. We know the final products of digestion are three. Glucose from starch, amino acids from protein, and fatty acids and glycerol from fat. Glucose and amino acid can directly go to blood because they are very small. But fat molecules being larger cannot be taken up by the blood capillaries in the villi. So first it will be taken by the lymph. Then finally the lymph will give it to blood. So absorption of digested fat is one of the important functions of lymph. Second, it drains excess fluid from extracellular space back into blood. These are the 2 points given in your textbook. But lymph contains some blood cells also. Which blood cell? White blood cells. Since they contain white blood cells, they are involved in immune response. So from the part of lymph, you have 4 questions to study. 1. What is lymph? How is it formed? So that you have to write this. Second, why is it called a tissue fluid? Third, write the course of circulation of lymph in the form of a flow chart, or otherwise course of circulation of lymph. 4. Functions of lymph. Finally, we are going to discuss blood pressure. So what is meant by blood pressure? The force that blood exerts against the wall of a vessel. So when it is flowing through the blood vessel, it applies a force on its walls. That pressure is called a blood pressure. Blood pressure we measure in 2 terms, systolic pressure and diastolic pressure. Systolic pressure means the pressure of blood inside the artery during ventricular systole, or systole means contraction. So when the ventricles are contracting, that time what is the pressure exerted in the artery wall? That is called the systolic pressure. Now, diastolic pressure means what? The pressure of blood inside the artery during the ventricular diastole. That means when the ventricles are relaxing, that time what will be the pressure in the artery? The blood exerting on the wall of artery. So which one will be less? Of course, diastole will be less because ventricles are in a relaxed state. When it is contracting, pressure is high. So systolic pressure is 120 mm per mercury and the value of diastolic pressure is 80 mm per mercury. So when we are telling human blood pressure, we tell 120 by 80, that is the normal blood pressure. If it goes above, maybe 140 or 160 or 180 or less, 70, 60, like that, variations can happen. So there is an instrument for measuring the blood pressure, that is called a sphygmomanometer. Sphygmomanometer, the old ones, so the traditional sphygmomanometer has got a cuff which we have to tightly bind to our arm, upper arm. Okay, so we are tightly binding it. After that, there is an inflator. Using that, we inflate the air inside this. So it will apply a pressure on the artery and it will stop the flow of blood. Then using a stethoscope, the one who is checking the blood pressure will be listening to the flow of blood. Then we slowly release the pressure. So the blood starts flowing. So by seeing the measure, there is a mercury scale on which they can see from where it is starting, where it is ending. That sound can be heard very clearly. Like that we can detect. But nowadays there are many digital ones. Just by tying it to the arm, we can just get the reading on the screen. Okay, so that is called a sphygmomanometer. Then there is a condition called a hypertension. That means when your blood pressure is going high, I told you above this 120 or above this 80 level, then that is called a hypertension. So usually hypertension is caused by the constriction of arterioles. What are arterioles? We know arteries actually, aorta branches to form artery. Artery branches to form again branches called arterioles. Then arterioles only become capillaries. Okay, so fine branches of arteries are called arterioles. So these arterioles may have constricted walls. There can be many reasons for that, maybe deposition of fat or any other reason. If it is constricted, then what happens? The blood cannot flow easily because the space is less. So there is a resistance to the blood flow that causes hypertension. So if it is not treated properly, or if you are not giving care to that condition, then it may lead to the rupture of the artery. Due to high pressure, the artery may rupture and it can lead to internal bleeding, which is very fatal. Okay, so this part you can get these questions. These are the main points that you have to learn. Hope you enjoyed learning with me. In the next video, we will meet with transportation in plants. Please like, share and subscribe to my channel, Biology My Passion.